Mm.
What's going on, everybody?
Let's see, am I live as well?
Should be live everywhere.
Awesome. Well, hello. What a day today it's been. Oh, my title is still wrong. Why didn't it change? Hold on. That's fine. We'll keep it.
Yeah, right at close too. Go ahead.
No, you want to talk about? There's some juicy green candles at the end of the day, like and SPY and Tesla specifically. I want to talk about that.
Yeah, no, that's what I was about to talk about. Like right at the end of the day, you saw, we obviously broke 350 at one point. We hit 380, 359 almost. Came all the way back in 336. And if you guys look right here at the end of the day, that was kind of like that 350 level battleground. And they closed that final candle of the day about 350 and I think 62 cents. And we're already up another $3 here, about 353. So pretty crazy. But yeah, SPY closed pretty strong in the last couple minutes, even though it wasn't necessarily a strong day. The only thing, and Shay, you chime in here if you want, but seeing the market be, and I don't want to say it was super weak, but it definitely wasn't strong. And to me, seeing Tesla kind of go flat for most of the day, I was expecting it to kind of snap down today and kind of fill that gap that we had from, pre-market from close on Friday, and it held pretty well. So maybe we go 400. I don't know. To me, that's a little bit crazy, but who knows?
Yeah, so you're breaking up a little on my end, but yeah, I mean for Tesla today specifically, listeners, let us know if Ethan's breaking up or I'm breaking up. Maybe it's me. Maybe I need to refresh. But
that's weird.
Yeah, Tesla today is freaking wild. I will say there was a Tesla's being used as a vehicle of the Trump trade now. It's less about like fundamentals, what their progress is in autonomy driving, FSD. It is more of like, oh, Trump's become president, and now they're going to demystify all the regulations that Elon would have to go through in order for FSD to commercially scale it needs to. So I think I love to see it. It's clearly breaking out. However, it is hitting that clear resistance right now that I called out. It was like the April 2022 highs. It's at that point right now. And it looks overextended, especially if you look at the RSI on the weekly charts specifically. And whenever there's like this big move, specifically if it's a multiple expansion move where fundamentals aren't backing it up, it's more of a story or a narrative, and it's overextended, and it's a clear resistance. I'm like, I'd be a little cautious. Like I didn't sell any Tesla shares again because I am a long-term investor. So like I could care less if it goes from 350 down to 320. Like I'm not going to trim for that 10% delta because I'm all about the long-term gains. However, I would advise against, this is not financial advice, but like I wouldn't be getting into this trade right now, especially at this level. Half glass full view of it is we're less than 20% away from all-time highs. So now it's actually in shot. Previous all-time highs that occurred was at end of 2021, which is wild to say because that's like what, 410? Yeah, it's at $410. I think it was just a couple months ago. This was trading at 160. Now we're less than 20% away from all-time highs. So even though we're at that clear resistance right now at 350, 360 level, we are spitting distance from all-time highs. And usually that means that it's a magnet towards it, psychological magnet. So I wouldn't buy puts. I wouldn't buy weekly or 0DT puts. I wouldn't buy 0DT calls. Like it's one of those like, oh, resistance, but all-time highs is right there. So like I'd be on the sidelines, just like I'm watching as a long-term investor, could not be happier. But wow, what a freaking move. And whoever said that Kamala Harris winning would be bullish for Tesla because of EVs joke's on you guys. It is clearly Trump winning was the bullish tailwind that Tesla needed to go up. Like, what was let me see, what was that pre-election? What was Tesla trading at? November.
Pre-election would be, we closed that day at 251.
40% move since the election in less in a week. That's insane. So take what you will. Like, I will say, like, I still believe this and NVIDIA will be fighting for this NVIDIA and Amazon will be fighting for the first $10 trillion company. Tesla is a dark horse, dark horse candidate. I don't think it's gonna be them. It's gonna be more NVIDIA and Amazon. However, Tesla belongs in that conversation. And until just last week, they weren't even a $1 trillion company. So there's still a ton of runway for the stock. And if FSD can really bring in substantial revenue by 2026, and not just substantial revenue, like incrementally becoming a bigger weight of the Tesla fundamentals, that's a game changer for the stock. Because I will reiterate, the EV business is not a good business economics. It's an awful business model. It really is. It's low margin. I think Rivian was the only other EV company to report a positive gross margin in producing a vehicle, and that just happened a couple weeks ago or a week ago. It's a really difficult business to like actually scale and be profitable in. Right now, Tesla has an 18 to 19% gross margin. If FSD is a reality in 2 years, and not just a reality, it produces billions of dollars a quarter, that's a 90% gross margin. I just said right now it's an 18% gross margin for the business. That flips the fundamental story upside down on Tesla going forward. And that's why it's having this insane move in the past week. But again, it's a narrative. It's not backed with facts yet. So because of that, it feels a little frothy, and be cautious of it. But yeah, is there any additional color you want to add to Tesla, or should we move on to the next ticker?
No, I mean, I think we pretty much covered it all. I mean, it's hard to just bet on this not gapping up again or not going higher until it actually has that day where it pulls back. So, I mean, I agree with you. I'm telling all my day traders, like, just please be careful. At one point, there is going to be one of those aggressive days where, buyers start getting out of the way, people start taking profits. So, like you said, maybe stay away from weekly options unless you're trying to scalp them or whatever. But regardless, just crazy. So what do you want to get into next? PLTR?
I guess let's do it. PLTR.
Cool. So, all right, I'll get into technical
what do you see on the chart?
I mean, before I get into this, do you think this was part of, I don't want to say Trump trade, but I mean, it's kind of just been following the strength on, I don't want to like compare it to Tesla, but to me, this is broken out harder than a lot of other, tech stocks right after the election. So do you have any thoughts on that?
You're not wrong on that, though. Like, what's going to happen to Trump when he becomes president? The defense budget will incrementally expand. What is the top priority for the Department of Defense right now? AI. What's more than 50% of the total revenue for Palantir? It's the government segment of their business. So theoretically, we're seeing commercial scale at the pace it's been at the past year. There is going to be a ton of runway for the government side of the business as well, if the majority of the incremental increase from the DOD's budget in the Trump-led presidency is towards AI initiatives. Majority of that is going to come to Palantir's pockets. And I think that's why you're seeing Palantir catch a major bid right now since the election. It's not just because like they had a really strong earnings. It's not because Peter Thiel is backing Vance's campaigns in the past, so they're buddies. It's because there's actual facts behind why it's fundamentally better for Palantir in a Trump-led presidency, and it's catching a bid from that. And we're in an environment where valuations are taking a back seat. It's all about quality, and not just quality. Like, do you have a near-term tailwind to propel your business to the next level? Tesla has that with autonomy, FSD and autonomy. Palantir has that in enterprise AI, and now sprinkle in the government side of their business from Trump. They have two perfect storms aligning at the same time, and they're already a profitable business, 80% gross margin, growing the top line 30%, and they only have a couple hundred customers on the commercial side of their business, where they're thousands of enterprises in the US alone. There's a ton of runway on their commercial side of their business. So it's just like, it's almost like a near-term win. I mean, not near-term, it's like almost guaranteed success of Palantir going forward. The question is now valuation, because valuation is absurd. And it's not just absurd. If you cut the stock in half, it would still be the priciest growth stock in the market. That just shows like it is not bubbly, but there's an insane premium. The reason I don't say bubbly, there's no cyclicality nature in their business, and fundamentals are rapidly improving. And in a bubble, that generally isn't the case. Like what we experienced in 2021, that was a bubble. What tailwinds occurred for all these stocks to have their multiples expand? Just free money out in the QEing from the Fed. Wasn't anything business specific. So that is a perfect explanation of a bubble. People were willing to spend more on a stock just because there's more amount of money available. Right now, what Palantir is experiencing, that's not the case. Right now, it's backed by actual business tailwinds. And same with Tesla, same with NVIDIA. Like these three names, they're not going down, but their multiples are expanding. It's because their business execution is capitalizing on a massive tailwind that's in the early innings, AI. So that's why I'm like, it's not bubbly valuation like in 2021, but there is a premium. I'm not going to say it's going to go down 50%, but I wouldn't be surprised if it starts basing for the next 6 months around this level. But I also thought that they were going to base around $38 because that was when the S&P inclusion occurred. That was a large volume shelf. It was already expensive stock at $40. Well, we just saw it caught a major bid and it's just continued to expand. There is going to be a bloody like red day, and I don't know if people are going to be buying the dip above $50, but if they, who knows, maybe they will, because I know there's trillions of dollars in money funds on the sidelines just like itching to get back in the market, especially when the interest rates are going to go lower and lower, and they're going to have some explaining to do at the end of the year if they're underperforming the market, which a lot of them are, because a lot of these hedge funds entered this year on the defensive side. They were just like, oh, the market ran up a ton last year. I'm going to get defensive. NVIDIA, like NVIDIA's maybe continue the party, but maybe there's a near-term top. So I want to get defensive, get that 5%, 5.5% interest on the sidelines, risk-free, because I outperformed last year. That was not the case this year. Market followed through, not just followed through. There was a handful of clear AI winners that are growing, that went up over 100%. And now if you're a hedge fund manager, or like you handle a portfolio, you're underperforming the market, and you have to present to your clients like you're underperforming the market, and you have no NVIDIA or Palantir or Tesla. You have some questions you're going to have to answer that you probably don't want to answer because you're going to look like a schmuck. So now there's going to be a lot of window dressing that's going to occur at the end of the year, because they're all the bonuses and hedge funds, all the managers, all they care about is just perception, not just really about performance. It's a narrative. And if they don't have these three names in their portfolios by the end of the year, when they present like their performance to their clients, that's a narrative that they probably don't have a good explanation for. And that's why you might be seeing that occur as well right now.
Yeah, no, 100%. Someone here in the chat said that Palantir briefly eclipsed Lockheed Martin market cap today. Is that true?
Yeah, and Boeing too.
That is insane.
Boeing was the last week.
Yeah, so I mean, you touched on their valuation. I mean, to me, I think we can both agree it doesn't make sense like right now. I mean, obviously, we're on a huge move. Maybe in the future that may make a little bit more sense, but that's just unbelievable. But yeah, so just some technicals on PLTR. I mean, just like Shay said, that $50 level to me is going to be an area where I think this will probably pull back to at some point. I don't know when, right? I mean, the last thing you want to do in a scenario like this is try to be calling a top I mean, just psychologically here, whether it's Tesla, PLTR, coin, Bitcoin, you know, whatever. You don't want to try to be a guy jumping in front of the train, trying to, you know, call the top, short it, buy puts, whatever you want to do, just because you never really know when that's going to happen. If you are trying to position yourself that way from a trading perspective, you have to be okay with being red at some point, because you're never going to be able to call the top to the very penny, to the very dollar, whatever it is. So, you know, my advice again is just be safe. You know, at one point, I think me and Shay both agree that this, you know, there will be some sort of bloody pullback. I mean, look what SMCI did when it went from, you know, $500 a share up to, like, I don't know, what was it, 1,200, and then you had that one day when it dropped $300 or $400. So, you know, you don't want to be someone just holding and holding and holding until that happens, and you also don't want to be a guy trying to predict that too early. But back to the technicals here on PLTR. I do think $50 kind of makes sense for this to come back down to. All-time high was around 45. So, you know, just like he said, maybe there's not going to be dip buyers, you know, above 50, maybe right at 50, but I would look for, you know, anywhere from $45 to $50 to see if it'll kind of base out there on some sort of pullback that, you know, could or could not happen at this point, all the way down to that, to those levels. But I would pay attention to those. I think a lot of people are averaged much lower. So if you're a long-term investor, when and if this day comes where, you know, you may see a 10 to 15% drop on some of these names, you know, it shouldn't freak you out too much, considering how much we've gone up right now. So I just want to make that clear. But
also, we're entering a seasonal strength. Like, people, the reason the market keeps going up and feels like, whoa, what's going to prevent it from going down? It's because people have no reasons or catalysts to kind of call a top of the market. Valuations is not a catalyst, in my opinion, for a pullback. That just, it isn't the case, because the perception of a premium valuation is how much someone's willing to pay for a certain stock against another stock. And it's very subjective. Typically, it's going to have to be a news-driven catalyst, geopolitical tensions, something the Fed does that's going to affect earnings. Like, there's a lot of, like, obvious catalysts that can maybe buck this trend. Maybe the CPI this week. You never know. Like, maybe inflation reignites. I don't think that's the case, but regardless, like, it just, nobody wants to, like, you don't want to call a top and then all of a sudden it runs, because guess what? Look at first half of 2021. People thought the top was at the end of 2020, like that major bounce we saw and the strong finish towards the end of the year. You'd have gotten blown up if you just got short beginning of 2021, like absolutely blown up. Like, it was just like, it just went higher and higher and higher. And like, that's what you just don't want to do. Like, it's my biggest advice. Like, if I'm excluding hedges, like, exclude hedges. If you actually want to do a trade for predicting the market's going down, wait until they violate some key technicals that they've respected throughout the whole rally. For me, it's a 21 EMA on the weekly chart for SPY. Every time it's retested that, it's bounced. And that just shows to me, like, all right, the bull market is strong. It's going to continue to rally until it violates that. Not just violates it, aggressively violates it towards their 200-day SMA and breaks that. I'm like, oh, this is a new characteristic. We're about to get a stage 4 breakdown. We haven't gone that yet. So that's when I would get bearish. Right now, what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be being very selective about my capital, my DCA plan. Like, I already built a major position in TMDX on this dip. I added some more Amazon today. Like, I'm being very selective. And I still think, like, there's a lot of names out there that could significantly run that haven't reported their earnings yet, because I haven't noticed, earnings season is a ton of catalysts so far this cycle, of like going up 30, 40, 50%. AppLovin ran up a ton entering their print. They went up 50% after they reported. Dutch Bros went up 40% last week. There's the list goes on. Like, there's so many names that just have run up drastically from their earnings, because that is the catalyst a lot of people are waiting on. Like, oh, they killed it, now it's safe, and they're breaking out of the space they've been on. So I'm going to put my capital there. So that's my 2 cents on that. And I saw a question: is it too late to get into Tesla now? I don't think as of this moment, it's overbought. RSI is overextended. I could see a near-term pullback, But again, my thesis is Tesla will be fighting for one of the first $10 trillion companies with Amazon and NVIDIA. And right now they're only worth 1.2 trillion. So there's a ton of runway. I'm bullish on them, but I could see there's a little frothiness due to a narrative that isn't backed by fundamentals. So I could see it pulling back to 320. If that's the case, fine, that's great. I mean, it would just be a back a lot. I was just joking with Ethan before this call. Like, if Tesla pulls back 10%, guess where it's going to be at? Same point it was at the finish last week. That just shows how extended this name is. So be cautious out there, but I am bullish long term in Tesla, and cannot wait to see what the first buddy Elon, first buddy is because he's the best friend of Trump, so he's the first buddy of the next 4 years. We'll do in a Trump-led presidency, and how like much buddy to buddy Trump's willing to give for Elon to fulfill his vision.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. The only thing I would add to that is, when people ask me, is it too late to buy in? It all depends on what your trade or investment is. If you're looking to hold this for 5-10 years, in the grand scheme of things, no, I don't think it's too late. If you're looking to, buy and hold this for a week, well, I would say, yeah, maybe right now, just considering it's overbought. And just like we said, if it does drop 10%, we're going to be at Friday's highs. Right. That would, to me, I would think that it's a little too late to buy in right now, but it all kind of depends on your trade there. That's really it. I agree with everything else you said. Someone else said, is it possible for it to hit 1,000? Well, has Tesla split twice when it was already over 1,000?
I think so.
Yeah. So, I mean, 100% it's possible. I mean, but then again, it's what time frame are you looking for? Could it be 1,000 in, a month? I would say probably not. Could it be 1,000 in 2 years? I think there's definitely a chance for that. I mean, who knows? But it's going to depend on your kind of trade.
That's the thing. But Tesla, when it runs. It doesn't just like go up. Like, it's not like an Amazon where it goes up 10, 15% and it slowly pulls back. Like, when it runs and breaks out, it runs hard. So
yeah, I real quick, I want to go back to, I know we're sticking on Tesla a lot here, but back here in, what is this, 2021, late 2021, I think it was news with Caterpillar, if I remember correctly. But I mean, this started catching some traction here at, 250, 260, and then we see it go to 400 in a matter of 2-3 weeks. So just like you said, when Tesla does run, it wants to run. And just a quick technical analysis, rundown here, we had this little bit of a downtrend. We kind of broke out of it. And, the high of this was right at about $300. And we went all the way up to 415. Well, someone else said, the bigger the base, the bigger the break, the bigger the breakout. Look how big this downtrend is that we're actually fully breaking out of now compared to this one, right? So if you kind of do the math on that, an extra $100 move on, from a 300 all-time high, what's that, around 30%? So let's say that, 250 to 300 is going to be high. Maybe we can see 400, maybe we can see 500. I mean, it's very easy for that to happen, just because I think we can agree on this. It's Tesla. When it runs, it wants to run. Is that going to happen in a day or two? No. But I do think if this really wants to get going, considering what the next 4 years could bring for Elon and Tesla as well, I think there's a lot of room to the upside here. But
100%.
yeah,
No, 100% agree with you.
Cool.
I will say, in 5 minutes, I just want to just plug. We put this trivia game. We're gonna play a Palantir trivia game. I've been doing this trivia game for the past couple of weeks. I've given out $400 to people. So this trivia game, if you get 3 for 3 right, all the names get collected and put it into a randomizer, and it shoots out one name, and that name I will be DMing you afterwards to figure out your Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, etc., and we'll be sending you $60. And who knows, that maybe this time tomorrow you can buy you one Palantir share. It was the whole time it's supposed to be like, oh, you can buy one Palantir share, but today said otherwise. So we'll see if tomorrow you can. So in 5 minutes, we're going to be playing that game. But before we do, so click that link below and download that game so we can play. But let's talk about CrowdStrike for a little, because I do want to mention CrowdStrike, where a lot of people were bearish on CrowdStrike mid-July. Why is that? They essentially shut the world down due to a mess up on their end. And essentially, the whole world paused because flights couldn't go anywhere. It just disrupted a lot of the Microsoft operating systems across the world. And people were saying when it broke like $200, like, why do you still hold his name? Like, it's going to go file for bankruptcy. It's going to owe billions of dollars. It's going to go zero. Like, there's going to be so much financial implications on this name due to the outage that it's next Enron. And I was like, I couldn't believe my ears when I felt like I was like talking to a wall during this time, because I was like one of the few publicly facing people, publicly talking about like, I'm still bullish on CrowdStrike and I'm keeping it. I was fighting for that a bit. Saying there's language in the contract where it limits how much money they actually have to spend if there's an outage like this occurs, and people were just like still fighting me. I was like, on that, I was like, okay, well, you don't think CrowdStrike has the best lawyers in town and they put something in their contract and they're gonna fight for that? Either way, before the outage occurred, it was at 360. What did it finish out today? It finished at 343. I want to say that it's about to fill the gap this week on that outage in a matter of months. And the reason I'm reiterating this is narrative always follows price all the time. That's the one guarantee in the stock market. That's what we're seeing right now. We saw that CrowdStrike at 200. Nobody wanted to buy because it was taking. We saw it at Tesla under $200. Tesla was basing for years under $200, like years. You had ample opportunities to participate in buying a Tesla, but nobody wanted to because they saw it as an EV company when it was under $200. But now that's above 350, like, oh, it's an AI and software company now. That's what happens. People follow the price action to follow a narrative. Same thing happened with Palantir. Palantir was an identical business this time last year when it was trading under $20. But now that's trading above 60. People are like, oh, whoa, they're potentially a Microsoft disruptor. They're the enterprise AI winner. That's why it takes hours of research to gain your conviction so you don't get scared out of your position due to a price just falling. It happens. Like, it really does happen in the lifespan of an investor. Same thing's happening like right now. Like, I just named 3 names that occurred. I can tell you guys, Snowflake's experienced that same thing right now. People are just seeing the stock price being down 40% this year, and they're seeing the margins deteriorate due to their AI related investments. They're not seeing the bigger picture. When it trades at 160 by Q1 of next year, people are going to start, not even just 160, it's going to trade at $200 next year. When it does, people are like, oh man, they're going to be the data platform for enterprise AI. That's what happens. Nobody wants it right now when you've had all year to buy it under 150. But when it goes past 200, 250, everyone's going to be chasing for it. That's why I love being first mover, because I don't love wanting to build a position when there's FOMO behavior, because things get crazy and I get out of my element and I add too aggressively. And I just like, I just hold the bag because I'm trying to get as much shares as possible to build my position because it's running before I was able to. Same thing happened to Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab was at $4 to $5 for years. Like, for years. Nothing is different about their business except for the stock price. But now that it's at $12, everyone wants it because they want the next frontier after AI, which is space. And they have a duopoly. And now they're saying, oh, whoa, they're not just a satellite launching company. They're a full-end space prime. I was saying the same shit for Rocket Lab when it was at $4, but nobody really wanted to participate because it was just like basing and not really breaking out. But now it's breaking out. Everyone wants a piece of it. This is scary behavior. And this is why you kind of need to learn how to gain the conviction and do the research when the stock price is stuck in mud. And then when it rises, you built your position and now it's great. Like Rocket Lab, for the first time in the history of my growth portfolio, it just grew into a top 10 position for me. And this is me trimming half of it back at $10. So now it's pure my average cost basis is $4.35 at Rocket Lab. I sold at $10 because why? I wanted my Rocket Lab position to be all profits. So I have no stress, no risk. I sold all my principal into that position, and now I can just let it ride. Even though it grew into a top 10 position for me, it's an $8 billion company now, and the earnings are tomorrow. I'm not touching it because I have no risk. I believe it's going to be a massive winner in the space economy But yeah, is the market catching a bid in his name way too aggressively, way too soon? Probably. But also, the market's a forward-looking mechanism. You don't know how forward-looking. And it could be 1 year, 2 years. Either way, I think Rocket Lab will be a mid-cap company at least sometime next decade. And because of that, I'm not selling because it's at $14 and it might retest $11 to $12. Like, I'm just not. But again, I want to reiterate that. So before we continue, let's play the trivia game though. So it's going to be a link below, or you can see it right here in the nest. I'll put the link again if you guys don't get it in this comments. Again, whoever gets 3 for 3 right, randomize it. I will be Venmoing you $60. You can buy 1 Palantir share maybe tomorrow, or for sure you can buy 5 Rocket Lab shares. Either way, it's free money. So let's play this. Also, it goes for you too, Ethan. I'll give you $60 if you get this one right, and it gets randomized. Palantir trivia game. I'm about to launch it in 3, 2, 1, go. So as this is getting launched, Ethan, I do want to see. Do you have any Rocket Lab exposure? Did I ever itch?
No, I don't actually.
Curiosity?
Looking at it now, I sure wish I do.
Is it because of the stock price?
No, it's honestly just, dude. I
don't. What's the level showing on? What's the level showing on Rocket Lab right
now? We closed today at 1478, but if you want me to go into the technicals, I sure can. That's what you're asking.
Yeah, see the technicals while everyone's taking the quiz.
So, I mean, obviously $15 is going to be important. Is this all-time highs for it? I haven't followed. No, it's not. I haven't followed this.
No, I think all-time highs might be 16.
Yeah. We actually hit 1656 pre-market today. Wow. Yeah, so let me get into the technicals here. So obviously $15 is, going to be some sort of like a psychological level there that I would pay attention to from like a trader's standpoint. The next spot, I mean, I'm kind of going to go like dollar by dollar here almost, but 14 is going to be today's low. It's also going to be near the high of the day, the last 2 days. So short term, I would pay attention to those two. Other than that, if this does start kind of taking a little free fall here, I think around 12 to 11 and a half. So let me actually draw a box there for you guys so you can see it a little bit better. Anywhere from 12 to around 11 and a half to me, it's going to act as some sort of support there. And the next, it's going to be around 10. Simply because I do think that a lot of these stocks that have been going on runs, there will be some sort of pullback. Yeah, there is some. Wait, actually, Rocket Labs, we have earnings tomorrow, so I'll mention that in my earnings stream. But honestly, any sort of short-term technicals right now, it's kind of hard to pay that much attention to, just depending on what earnings does tomorrow. But if earnings sends this higher, I think that you're going to continue to want to watch 15, and then whatever the all-time high is. Let me go back and find that. Whenever that trivia is done, though, I'll be quiet. But let's see here. So all-time high actually is, well, we have 21 here. This is on the weekly chart. So let me do a daily here so I can get it exactly. So wow, it is $21. So definitely pay attention to 15. The next resistance I have here is around 16 to 17. So that's going to be an area you're going to want to watch when we're coming right up to that. You can see that once we broke through, the 16, 17 level, we did hit 21. Once we pulled back in, this thing really, really struggled to get back over $17. Anytime it got above 16, you just see people start to either take profits or shorts start to come in. And then after that, the highest we hit was 17. It started coming back down. So short term, again, I'd be careful chasing this. But if you're a long-term investor, even a pullback to $12, maybe $11.50 would kind of make sense for me. But that's about it.
So there was an error in the trivia game. It's not anyone's fault. It's just on the trivia website. So I have to redo it in 5 minutes. But let's talk Rocket Lab earnings, though, tomorrow. Like, what am I looking out for? So the biggest call out for Rocket Lab specifically for me is there's 2 things I'm watching out for. 1, launch services for space systems. The reason I was so bullish on Rocket Lab. I was like, oh, they're not just a satellite launching company. They're turning into a full-end space prime because their space systems part of the business is gaining steam. And not just gaining steam, it's rapidly becoming more of a weighted component of their fundamentals than what their the launching company was. Like, I think last quarter, they reported $80 million alone in space systems. The reason that's a big deal, launching is like the high teens gross margins. The space systems is like 28% gross margin. So nearly 50% higher gross margins than their launching side of their business. And that's why it's such a big driver for the fundamentals on Rocket Lab. Like, if they're ever going to get profitability, which I think they will, they're going to have to rely on the high gross margin side of their business. That's space systems. So I'm going to be seeing what's the weighted component now in this upcoming quarter on space systems versus their launch services. That's A. B, I'm also going to be looking at the Neutron rocket development. That's where the moneymaker is for Neutron, where they can effectively charge much larger costs because they can handle a much bigger payload. And this is going to be really the next growth driver for their launching services. And it's supposed to launch middle of 2025. So I want to see some kind of progress on that. Like, I'm crossing my fingers. It's Q1 of next year, not midway of 2025. If so, this again will be a margin expansion opportunity because this is going to be, it's higher gross margins and it's a lot more revenue. So it's same CapEx as required essentially, but it's a lot more revenue coming in, better gross margins. So that's those are the two main things I'm going to be looking at in this earnings report. What is it going to take for this name to get to $15 and after they print? I don't know. I mean, they're gonna, if there's a big jump in their space systems revenue, that's something to get bullish on because that's a margin expansion opportunity. Last quarter, they did $80 million. I don't know what the estimates are for this print tomorrow, but if it breaks 100, I'm like, oof, that's bullish because that's a 25% sequential increase quarter after quarter on their space systems. And I could see it catching a bit off that. Any commentary on their Neutron coming first quarter of next year, that's going to be bullish. So watch out for those two things. But if risk and reward, look to the left. It's ran up a ton entering this print. It got a ton. So expectations haven't been this high for a name like Rocket Lab entering a print for quite some time. And when that occurs, when it's in the early innings of a secular growth theme like space economy, which is what Rocket Lab is essentially a duopoly in, it's way too early to see any kind of fundamental impact really for an earnings print to like justify a catalyst. So like, I really do think, I don't want to say sell the news events, but I'm like, it's a way different story than what was it trading at 3 months ago? 3 months ago, that was the last time they reported their earnings. They were trading
7.
Look at that, 50% ago. That's where they're like, the fundamentals didn't improve out that drastically since the last reported earnings, but the stock price went up 50%. That right there is the tell of like, oh, expectations are substantially higher than what maybe Rocket Lab can deliver. Like, Rocket Lab didn't ask for that stock to go up 50%. They were still, they put their guide down for, what was it, 120. Their guide is $103 million for Q3 revenue next year. All the analysts didn't downgrade, but they downgraded their estimates since the last report earnings. But stock price went up. Like, usually when that occurs, there's some wonkiness happen. Something's got to give. So I'm hoping it's not the stock price, but I don't know. Like, this is high expectations, and in a speculative position like Rocket Lab, like, don't expect their earnings to like justify that 50% move. And that's why I'm like, some heartburn for tomorrow. And it's a top 10 position for me. So now figure out what to do. Like, it's all profits, but like at the end of the day, like, I want to protect my year-to-date gains. What am I going to do? I have to figure it out in the next 24 hours. So let's go on to the next ticker though. The other monster, small cap, the mini monster, IONQ. So IONQ is breaking out aggressively, and I love to see it because being a dead horse. No, that's not the phrase. But I've been saying all year, people are going to be catching bids for the next frontier after AI. What is that? Space and quantum computing. There's only 2 pure names out there in the market that have the technology required, that have like the high enough technology to justify like me putting my money ahead of like the bid that's going to cash. And IONQ and Rock Lab had the best pure tech for those secular growth themes in the market right now when they were small caps. So I built a position at $6, $7, and now it's tripled, quadrupled almost. And I'm like, man, this is a name that I think that was a high teens, maybe $18. I was like, all right, I'm cutting half my position because I want this also to be pure profits. And it is now. So now I'm like, less stress free. But either way, like it's run up a ton. And as I'll let Ethan talk about this, like it hit a clear resistance now.
Yeah, right here at like 25, 26 bucks. It's obviously a pretty clear resistance. I mean, all-time high from what I see. It looks like what we IPO'd back in 21. So yeah, all-time high is 35 and 90 cents. So obviously that's around $10 away from where we are now. But just like Shay said, we're right at a pretty major resistance here at this $25 to $26 level. So it's going to take a lot, I think, to get through that, just considering how hard we have ran from around that, $7 to $10 area all the way up to where we are now. But I think there's a pretty clear support that you guys can see from $18 to $20. So a pullback to there, if buyers can hold it, again, from a trading perspective, from what I know, that's where you'd want to see buyers hold it. That's where you want to see that support hold. And then maybe we're back to 25 in, another couple days, and maybe we go further. So definitely for anyone that has a chart out 25 to 26 bucks and also 18 to 20, and then your all-time high at 35 and 90 cents.
So there's a ton of option flow towards $35 calls for IONQ for November. Do you see anything to justify gamma squeeze like that on your end?
Yeah, I mean, I could. I think that what would help the gamma squeeze is if this does hold up above $25. Thinking like what Tesla's doing right now. That's a kind of a big reason why I talk about this closing over 350 on Tesla. Is holding above 340 then 350 is going to make the options dealers have to then buy shares that make a zero delta, which is going to create that gamma squeeze. So I'm not super familiar with the stock, but if you're saying there's a bunch of interest in the 35 calls, I can 100% start a gamma squeeze for sure.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. So yeah, I mean, things are crazy out there. I mean, let's talk SPY now next, because
let's do it.
This is a really interesting past couple of days where indices are kind of flat. SPY, Qs, like they haven't really moved. Actually, Qs were red today. SPY was, I think, finished red, if not flat. But my growth portfolio was up 3%. I'm sure a lot of people's growth names were up drastically, like a ton today, because a lot of the winners, especially small cap land, like there are a lot of small cap names that are up 10% plus. So the breadth is widening on this rally, which is exactly what you want to see in the longevity of a bull market. So that's good. That's great. However, I'm trying to figure out if these are short squeezes, gamma squeezes. A lot of people were positioned incorrectly ahead of the Trump election. Now they're caught off sides. The presidential election, caught off sides, and now they are just have to force to acquire shares because they have to cover their option play. That might be the case, but either way, like things are moving at a rapid pace where I have to I feel like the world is just like running, just spinning so quickly when I'm just like trying to find my flooring, because Rock Lab keeps going up 10% a day. Palantir keeps going up 5% a day. Tesla was up 11% today when it was just up 10% last Friday. Like, what's happening? And I lived on, and not just lived, like I was trading and investing during the bubble bursting in 2022. Like, that's scarring. Like, even though it was 2 years ago, my chest got hairier because of it. Like, it grew hair on my chest living through that bubble bursting. I cannot live through that same experience again next year. So if it continues at this point, like I'm asking myself, like, all right, what am I going to be doing going forward on like protecting my investments portfolio? Like, am I going to have to wait until it pulls back to the 540 level for SPY to get bearish? Like, that's a huge drawdown still until then. So like, What are you seeing right now in the SPY?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things I've talked about is going to be short term, but the thing that really sticks out to me is the volume, right? We've had a massive move. Okay, we closed before the election at 576. Okay, and we touched $600 today. But so you mentioned, like, is this a short squeeze? Is it a gamma squeeze? Is it what's going on here? To me, I'm leaning more toward a short squeeze, and there's actually not as much buying as I would have thought. People covering one, and then also two people buying. If that was the case, the volume would be above average right now, and we're not seeing that. We had a little bit of spike in volume after the election, right? Granted, I expect that, but volume's been decently low. I mean, I don't want to say it's super low, but it's not exceeding what I would expect, which to me kind of makes me a bit iffy. I mean, we've been talking about the short-term pullback that we're kind of expecting on some of these names that are just way, way, way up in the air. And to me, that kind of signals that. I mean, at least here on SPY, I mean, who knows what Tesla's going to do? Who knows what PLTR is going to do? But volume for me as a trader is one of the biggest indicators that I look at. And considering it's not super high, makes me think that maybe there's not as much actual buying going on right now, and it's more so just kind of a squeeze. You have people that are off sides having to cover their positions, and that's helping these things go higher. If volume was super high, I would think, okay, there's also a lot of institutional buying as well. And to me, I'm not necessarily seeing that right now. I mean, just like you said, SPY closed up 0.1% today. Well, you said the Qs were flat or the Qs were red. To me, that's kind of weird. I mean, considering Tesla went up a ton recently, you would think that maybe things would be a little bit higher. 600 to me is also going to be a kind of like a psychological level for people to take profits. Shorter term traders, that is. So I don't know. To me, I'm still leaning for, guessing that there's going to be some sort of, really, really red day coming soon. Maybe that's just one day, right? Maybe that's a day where some people long are then offsides as well. They kind of get trapped. They then have to get out. Maybe this comes down to 590, then we get a bounce. But, again, just like you said, it's hard for me to be bearish until SPY is like, I don't know, 560, 550 even. Then it's like, okay, maybe things are coming back down. I don't see that happening very soon.
I mean, there's a worrisome trend. I mean, there's a worrisome trend I saw historically. Like I was playing around this over this past weekend. I was like, oh, I found a historical trend. Let me share this knowledge right now. Let me present my screen.
I also do this top trend here for you guys that are watching. We're kind of breaking above that. You can see we've respected it for quite some time as well. But if you want to share your screen, go for it.
All right. So you guys see this? So RSI, this is on the monthly chart. So RSI every single time the RSI is over 70, that indicates it's overbought. If it's under 30, it indicates it's oversold. On the monthly chart, this is very accurate on if the pullback's going to occur, if the bottom is in the market. Very accurate. We're at levels that has hit 1, 2, 3 times before. First time occurred in 2018 when the RSI was way overextended. I will say, once it got past 70, it continued from 237 to 270. So right there, that's a 15% increase. It continues going up. So be cautious of that. However, when it hit its peak, it corrected 10%. So now let's just do down here, September 2018, 290, it went down 20% in the following 3 months. Oof. The next time it went above 70 was December 2021. What occurred? It was actually a very similar environment that we're in right now, where there was a dip, like we had the dip, and then continue rallying. People just thought it continue expanding. It dipped 27% over the past 10 months. I'm not saying it's going to happen right away, but a pullback is likely. Just looking on this past 3 times, it's been this level past 6 years, 7 years. So what does that look like if we take the average of the previous 3 pullbacks? It looks like we're going to pull back 10.2% over the course of the next 3 months. So by March of next year, it's most likely going to go from 600 to 540. And that is That kind of makes sense to me, actually, because look, by the time it pulls back, that's the 21 EMA where it's been a clear resistance. It will catch up to it, and I feel like it bounces there, pulls back up. But that just shows like we are due for somewhat of a pullback, and that makes me. But also like back in 2018, it broke it right here above 70. The level it's at right now is, was it 74? So right here, it was at 239. It continued to go all the way up to 280. Like it went up 20% more once it hit that level. So like there is some risk associated with it, but also like it's cheap to hedge right now. VIX is at 14 handle, and historically the mean is 15. It was just at 23 a week ago. It got drained again. So call me naive, but I feel like even though Trump's bullish for the economy and market, there is a volatility associated in the Trump-led presidency. Like there just is. Like he can make a comment out of the blue that reignites geopolitical tensions in China or something in Europe, something in Russia. You never know with Trump. Like he can just say one comment, all of a sudden NVIDIA is tanking because he just disrupted the semiconductor chain. And NVIDIA and the semiconductors are a huge component of the indices now. That's going to take all the indices down with it. And what did I say earlier in this space? Narrative follows price action. Everyone's happy right now at all-time highs, but as soon as there's a 5% correction, you're going to see commentary like, oh, 2021 all over again. You're going to commentary, bubble just bursted, watch out. Oh, they're reigniting China, Taiwan fears. Like there's going to be all these headlines come up when there's be a slight pullback, and you're going to see price follow suits. So again, my style of investing is very, I'd rather be first. I'd rather opportunity cost like hurt me a little, but like I want to be there first before the move occurs. I think I'm a little worried on the short term. I just am like seeing a historical trend of it, and like things are too good right now. When too many people are on one side of the boat, it will sink. It will. Right now, there are so many bulls out there. So many. The market can't be this easy. It shouldn't be. But right now, it feels easy. Everyone's pounding their chest. Everyone's posting their P&Ls. Everyone's egos are getting bigger and bigger, saying like, who needs Buffett? Who needs Kathy Woods? Maybe I should quit my day job. Maybe I should do this full time. Like you're seeing these kind of commentary. That is toppy behavior, in my opinion. It's very toppy. So I'm bullish long term in the bull market. I think we're in the third or fourth inning of this bull markets in a baseball game. Like, but I'm seeing toppy behavior right now, and I feel like I'm seeing people feel very rich and very cocky. Market humbles people. In days like today, in days like the past couple of days, you either be humbled or you will get humbled. Like, don't be cocky. And right now, people are very cocky. It just is. So, like, I'm like, oh my God, I don't love to see it. And I don't think it's 2021, but a lot of things are lining up for some kind of pullback in the market.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, be fearful when others are greedy, right?
Yeah.
Shy, we do have 9 minutes here until 6 Eastern.
Oh,
So
let's
do you want to do? Yeah, go ahead.
let's play that trivia game. But as we play that trivia game, people put smash or pass in the tickers, one per person in the chats. Sorry, the first one did not work for some reason. Trivia glitch at the end. It's again free $60 for whoever wins this trivia game. I've been giving out $450 in the past couple weeks. Very real things. I Venmo for my account, $50 to $60 at a time. So I will be posting the link down here. Let's play this game, this trivia game. And I'm going to launch it in 3, 2, 1, go. So as we're doing, yeah, time just really flew by. If one pull up grabs chart while we're talking, this report after hours, and they look like they're breaking out right now a bit.
What is?
Grab. GRAB.
Yeah, it is.
So they're in South. South Korean e-commerce company. Amazon of South Korea, if that makes it easier. So they have been basing and they're breaking out aggressively right now. And this is a stock that isn't expensive either. It's pretty cheap. It's not cheap. It was really undervalued. Now it's like I don't know about that, but yeah. So again, we have 2 minutes left in trivia. Click the link below over there. Free $60. How many is it? $5 is grab stock?
Yeah, 4.9 right now.
You can all right, you can buy 12 shares of grab for the winner of this trivia game. So that's the way of thinking about it. Also, it's funny because my fiance wanted to play this game because she wanted the free money. And I was like, did you not watch The Office when Jim and Pam got in trouble for rewarding the best salesman of the day with that cake? For all the Office listeners, you guys know that episode. That's initially what I thought of. So, yeah. So, for whoever played the trivia game and you're done playing it, put a ticker down. We'll go over the chart right now. This
first one I see is KULR. I'm not familiar with it. Are you?
Let me pull it up. KULR.
It's breaking out here for sure. It's about 50 cents.
It's breaking out, but it's been a pretty brutal run past 3 years in the stock.
Yeah.
Look at their monthly. Yeah, I mean, the big tell is I'd be bullish if it broke out 60 cents. It needs to break out 60 cents.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Again, I'm not super familiar with the stock, but short term, I mean, obviously it's strong, but like Shay would say, look to the left. It's been getting crushed. I would say even the past 3-ish years. So, for me, it's not something I'd be day trading. That's just not really my style. But I would say you need to pay attention to this 40-cent level. If it can hold above that, I think that's that's good. But as it comes up to this 50-cent resistance, that's where you're going to want to maybe get a little bit skeptical on if it goes higher. It looks like we have earnings in 2 days. So if you want to stay long for that, who knows? But again, I'm not super familiar with it. So I don't know. Maybe smash very short term, but long term, maybe a pass for me. Do you have anything on that, Shay?
No, that's right, I agree with that sentiment.
Cool. Next one, ECOR. Wow, really strong recently. Look at this. Went from about $5.50, $6 all the way up to $13.70. Let's back this thing out a little bit further. So yeah, I mean, definitely it's been rough for this one as well. I mean, I see, is this reverse split? No, 1 to 15 split. So I did split it. But I don't know. I mean, it's definitely catching some traction right now. Volume is spiking on this. I don't know what the news is on it. It looks like we also have earnings on this on the 13th after market close. So again, maybe short term could be a smash, but longer term, I'd be a bit skeptical. But again, I'm not super familiar with the company. Shy, anything there? We're going to move on.
Yeah, move on. I've heard this name. I haven't looked into it though. It's a popular Fintuit name.
Okay. Next, we got GE here. Wow, massive run here the last 2 years. You may know a little bit more than me on this, but again, technical wise, I'd be paying attention to this 190 level and then 200. Right, this is going to be kind of that resistance zone that you want to be paying attention to. If it does fall back in, 170 is going to be where I want to see. If I were in this, I'd want to see buyers hold it there. After that, 160, 150. If we start breaking under 150, I think this could probably start nosediving. But again, short term, not super familiar with the stock, but seems strong. Don't want to be a guy trying to go short that.
I mean, so 70% of their revenue comes from essentially providing parts and services for airplanes. Airbnb just reported a downturn in demand for travel. If consumers aren't traveling as much 2025 going forward because their belt's tightening, Trump-led presidency isn't good for a lot of middle class or lower. So if I'm bearish just because Airbnb is always telling me travel demand slowing, and 70% of the money for GE is essentially in that field. So take what you want.
It's a good take. Next, we got Fubo.
Not a real company. So talk about the technicals, but fundamentals is not a real company.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah, I mean, technical wise, this has kind of done nothing. It's under $2 a share here. We're sitting right at $1.50. I'll do some short-term technicals for you. We're kind of sitting right in this zone here from 140 to 150 a share. I think if it holds this, maybe you can get a retest this $1.75, maybe a retest of $2. But if you are trying for some sort of short-term trade here, I would be wary if this thing does start breaking like $1.40, $1.35. That to me would be I would stop out of this. Other than that, maybe it does go higher, but sounds like it's not a very good fundamental company. So
it's legit a fake company, guys. Do not.
Yeah. Next, ACHR.
eVTOL. So eVTOL, like it was intriguing to me 2 years ago. Yeah, I think it's got a place in the world somehow. I just don't think the demand's going to justify like investing in a company that's worth a couple billion when there won't be any real fundamentals for at least 2027. Like it's not like Rock Club and IONQ is bringing real revenue in and scoring top line triple digits, and there's a path towards profitability. ACHR, Joby Aviation, they're years and years away of being where IONQ and Rock Lab is today. That's like next frontier. Even that frontier, like, I don't know how bullish that is. Like fundamentally, I just don't get. I don't know how applicable it is. Just traveling via eVTOL, except for like maybe military. But either way, I'm not as bullish as it was a couple years ago. It's a very exciting thematic, but I don't know how fruitful it's going to be.
Yeah. Short-term technicals, we are breaking out of this like $4 to $4.20 kind of resistance here. The next resistance I'm seeing is going to be around 480. And then that $5 level is going to mean something for sure. And then right after that, we have 520. After that, your next resistance is going to be around $5.45. To me, I would say that's about $5.50. That's going to be a little bit more of an important level than 545. Other than that, that's kind of all I have on this now, but really, really strong. It looks like the earnings started really ascending this higher. So maybe higher in the short term, but any sort of pop you're seeing here has gotten destroyed. So I think we have time for one more, unless you need to go now, Shay. It is.
We'll give one last one before I have to hop off.
One last one. You want CLSK, XBI, HNST?
Wait, is CLSK, like, did it unhalt today? I know it was halted on Friday, and
No, it looks like they're still halted.
What's happening with stock? That's crazy.
It was live today.
It was? So
yeah.
How much did it go up today? Let me see.
It unhalted about 45 minutes after the open.
Not even at the open, geez.
Today it's up 30%.
Oh, I thought it would be more because it was halted on Friday. Listen, if you're bullish, if you think crypto's at 88,000, I think there's a psychological magnet at 100 at this point with no catalyst to prevent it from hitting there. Miners are a vehicle to capture as much alpha as possible for that run. So I'm bullish, but it's a short-term trade. Like, own Ethereum and Bitcoin at the end of the day. Don't own these miners long-term. But right now, crypto's raging. It's probably going to happen to the end of the year. Bitcoin will hit 100K before the end of the year, most likely. And miners will do well and resolve that.
Yeah, so I think that's a good way to wrap it up. I mean, look at Bitcoin here. It looks like we're at 89,000, almost 89,500. What an unreal move here. This is just crazy. But I have really nothing else to talk about for anything closing here. Shay, any last words before we end it?
Be safe out there. When things are too good to be true, there's a reason for that. So I'm skeptically happy, but my guard is going to be up if we have more performances like we did past 2 days, like throughout the week. Like, I don't want it to be frothy. I want there to be some ups and downs. That's the longevity of any market rally. Like, if Palantir hits $70 this week, I'm freaking worried. That's a double since their last print nearly, and that was already expensive valuation. If Tesla is $400, I'd be worried. Like there's just like those two names, their valuations are getting way ahead of themselves for the near term. Like I just don't want to see that because I don't want bubble. Creating a bubble is the worst. It's the worst feeling. So please be cautious out there. Don't be so blinded by the money goggles, the greed goggles. Have same kind of mentality you've had the past couple of months. Even though everything's working out right now, things can turn really quickly, and when it does, that fire feeling you had in your stomach that you didn't like listen to, that said, take a little off the top, buy some puts or whatever, protect your gains. You didn't listen to it and you just lost a ton of money. That's the worst feeling. So protect yourself. But yeah, that's it. Thanks, everyone.
Cool. All right. Everyone have a good rest of the day. Shy, adios. And we'll see you guys. I got live trading tomorrow in the morning. So see you guys there.
See you guys
later.